Hi everyone, good evening. Suki here. Hope everyone can hear me and also see my screen.
Yes,
Yep.
we can. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Super.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Is there anything like an echo or any audio issues today? I'm connected via a Bluetooth device, so checking.
No, it's audible clearly.
It's loud and clear. Thank you.
All right, very good, super. Let's give a couple of more minutes, and we will get started. Yeah, just be patient for a couple of minutes. See if others are joining, if anybody, and we will get started. Hope everyone had a good weekend, and the rain gods have been in Chennai. When you're joining, can you please make sure your audio and video are muted?
Hello, sir. Now your voice is echoing a lot.
Yes, I think it's because somebody else was unmuted when I was speaking, and it was through their side, I believe. Now is it okay?
Yeah.
It's okay now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Meanwhile, till others join, could you brief what was thought on last session? Is that fine?
Yeah, may I know who was the speaking?
Niranjan. I
All
could
right,
not
so
attend the last session. I had
that's
certain.
fine. So last session we did not get onto the subject, Niranjan. So we were just discussing about the modalities of the course and what will be covered and what not and other stuff. So you did not miss much from a content standpoint, but it just that the body of knowledge and few other general topics is what we were discussing. Basically we were setting the context for ourselves for the rest of the course to continue, Niranjan. So that's what we discussed.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the links for the reference documents have been already put in the signal. So probably you will be able to look into it just to add to what Suki said.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I saw the links. I'll go through them.
Okay, thanks.
very good. Okay,
Thank you.
welcome, Niranjan.
Hi, Suki. Sukanya here. Will you be starting the recording today for like this session?
No need for recording, Sukanya. So what's happening is, the session is also live streamed on YouTube. But I can see there is nobody attending on YouTube, right? So all of you guys are here. That's fantastic. But what will happen is the live stream, once it ends, it automatically gets stored within YouTube. So using the link that I gave earlier today, you
Right.
can anytime go and watch the recordings, watch the video. It's going to be at your disposal for view.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, great. All right, so we'll get started. We waited for 5 minutes, which is good amount of time, right? So great. So as we spoke on last Thursday, the content is going to be based on the body of knowledge that IAPP has put forth for the CIPPE examination. So I've got my own slides created from my own notes that I take while I read the book. Don't ask me to share the book, please. I cannot do that because it's a copyright protected book. If you are interested, I think you would find your own ways to get access to this book or buy this book. That's the best way. But I cannot really share the book that I have due to copyright issues. And, I'm already facing a lot of trouble with IAPP doing all the sessions for without charging. All these vendor partners of IAPP have gone and complained about me to some executives there. So I don't want to get into trouble there by sharing books and even talking about that in the group as a talking point, right? So please get access to the book in your own methods. The best is to buy the book directly from the IAPP website. Again, as I said, if you are interested in taking the examination, the certification examination, then it is worth for you to buy the book. But otherwise, knowledge sake, I think the T4 data DPO handbook that I shared the links for earlier, that's going to be a useful material for you to go through, right? So the content is created from IAPP body of knowledge, which is called as European Data Protection 2nd edition. I'll upfront tell you some things, right? So the latest edition of the book is still the 2nd edition in their bookstore, which was published in 2019, if I'm not wrong. But IAPP also does revise the course content on a yearly basis, but not necessarily each of the revisions will produce a new version of the book, because the changes are very minimal. Less than 10% of the content is what they say as changes every year. You can look at the change log on what has changed from the last book versus the current body of knowledge, and then cover those additional topics. It's going to be very minimal topics, maybe 1 or 2 topics, or even a few paragraphs amongst one of those two topics would have changed. But I know for a fact there's one new concept introduced, which is putting a lot of emphasis on artificial intelligence and other stuff in section 3 of the textbook now. So you may not find the slides or reading material from the textbook for that content, but yes, you can refer to supplemental readings that IAPP has suggested, or general Google reading is going to be sufficient enough for you to focus on that very small delta portion when you're taking the examination, right? Having said that, let's get into the subject today. Now, again, I'm going to keep it very light. I don't want to bombard you today with a lot of information. We will have a little bit of, refresh of our knowledge about Europe as such, and then, why is Europe, considered as the land for privacy? So that's the basics that we're going to be touching today, right? Now, I don't want this session to be again a monologue, so I would like active participation, but one at a time, just to ensure there's no echo problem and other stuff as we unmute ourselves and speak, right? So what is our understanding of Europe? How many countries are there in Europe? Anybody knows? Europe is a continent that we all know, but how is Europe structured? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, okay. When you say Europe, so I do not have much knowledge about this whole GDPR thing, and I'm kind of a bit confused. I'm a completely starter at this thing.
I'm absolutely fine. I'm not even asking a GDPR question. I'm asking a general knowledge question. How many countries are there in Europe?
That's the problem,
40
Suki.
plus,
Around 40 countries.
40 plus
40
countries.
is a close guess, but not exactly.
Okay.
You said 10% less than the actual count. So there are about 44 countries in the Europe, right?
Okay.
So it's a continent which has got 44 countries in total, right? But Europe is further. There are many unions and other stuff within Europe, which is not always inclusive of all these 44 countries, right? Now, as a matter of fact, a law like GDPR, again, basic questions. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation, right? So it is a general data protection regulation that European Union has come up with. Now, the scope of GDPR initially was to apply this data protection regime as a common regulation across the European Union. Now, I'm introducing the second terminology now, right? European Union. So while Europe as a continent has got, let's say, 44 different countries, European Union consists only of a subset of those 44 countries. Not all countries in Europe continent belongs to European Union. right? European Union is basically and a kind of you can take this as a college of all like-minded countries coming together on basic principles, legislative framework, and other stuff, right? So this subset from the 44 European countries to the European Union is only 27 countries today, right? So you only have about 27 earlier, at least last year, we had 28 countries. With Brexit happening, that list has gone down by one, and we only have about 27 countries in the European Union, right? This is the context of European Union. So in general, GDPR as a law is not applicable, is not the only data protection law that's applicable across the Europe as a continent, but its scope is limited to European Union, right? So only these 27 countries today that we are talking about adopted general data protection regulation as the benchmark and the baseline for data protection within their countries, right? Now, EU is 27 countries, but there are a few other things also that you should know. Okay, can you name a few European countries, and then we will see if those countries are part of the European Union versus not?
Germany, France.
Just take wild guesses.
Germany, France, Switzerland. Italy.
Okay, Germany. So give me, I mean, again, let's go by guesses, right? We'll play this. Do you think Germany is part of Europe?
Yes.
Do you think Germany is part of European Union?
Yes.
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 All right. France, part of Europe? Yes. Part of European Union?
Yes.
Yes.
Switzerland, part of Europe? Yes. Part of European Union?
Yes.
I'm
No.
doubtful.
No, Switzerland is not.
No.
Yeah, Switzerland is not
Switzerland
it.
is not.
Right. So Switzerland, though it is one of those countries amongst the 44, unfortunately, this is not one amongst 27. Right? Switzerland is not part of the European Union. Okay, go on. Others. What other countries? Let's start with Scandinavia.
Netherlands.
Sweden.
Sorry? Is Sweden part of Europe and European Union?
Yes.
Both, right? Okay, fine. What about
UK
What
part
about
of
Finland?
Europe, but not part of Union.
Yeah, Europe, UK is definitely not part of the Union, but part of Europe. That's great. Okay. What about Finland?
Yes, both.
Yes.
Should be, yeah.
What about Norway?
No.
Which one is no?
Norway.
Not part
No.
of EU.
Not part of
Union.
European Union.
Not part of Union, but it's part of Europe, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we all understand that, this is two different sets of countries that we're talking about, right? So few countries are basically that are not part of the European Union. But then there are other things, there's something called EEA, apart from EU, right? EU is European Union. EEA is European Economic Area. That's another thing that's adding to the complexity of the ecosystem, right? So EEA consists of all the European Union countries plus three more countries, which is not part of the European Union, right? These three countries are Switzerland.
Iceland, Norway.
Any other guesses? Anybody want to guess?
Iceland, Norway.
Norway.
Sorry?
Yeah, you can try them.
Norway, you're saying?
Yeah.
Is Norway part of?
Yes, is not. Norway is
Go
part.
on. I mean, give more wild guesses, right? So we can definitely consider them.
Iceland.
Iceland. Okay, so Iceland is definitely part of EEA. I agree. Okay.
Liechtenstein.
Yeah. So Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is a small city country, right? It's only one city, but it has got autonomy from all the other states. So it's its own country in itself. So these three places, Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein, are not part of the European Union, but along with the European Union, these three countries put together, they form something called as European Economic Area, right? Now, GDPR also applies to European Economic Area because these countries adopted voluntarily the law. It was basically, in principle, not applicable or not extended to the EEA countries. The scope of GDPR is only European Union. But out of voluntary acceptance, these three countries, which forms part of the EEA, also accepted GDPR. Okay. So now we still have some countries left out, right? What are those?
Portugal.
Now, Portugal is part of EU as well as Europe.
Italy.
Italy is again part of EU and Europe.
Greenland.
Greenland's. See, I don't know whether you guys know Greenland. It's very small portion of Greenland is what is occupied with human occupation, right? And they are controlled in a way by Denmark. So Greenland is a massive land, but does it have its own autonomous government? No, I don't think so. It is managed by Denmark. It's managed from Copenhagen, I believe, right? No, I'm not talking about Greenland. No, we spoke about this country, right? The chocolate country, Switzerland. What about Switzerland? What's the status? Is it like an orphan now, right? We've never discussed this. Switzerland is not part of the EU as well as EEA. What about Switzerland? Any idea?
I think are they part of both? Are they part of both?
Sorry?
I mean, the UK as well as the...
Yeah, UK is kind of orphaned out now. The UK is not part of anything with European Union today, but Switzerland is a different case, right? So, okay. So let's confuse ourselves further. We spoke of 44 Europe countries, 44 countries in the European continent, right? That's separate. That's not important for us. It includes a lot of Eastern European countries and other stuff which is not part of the European Union by any chance, right? So European Union is 27 countries that we are aware of. EEA is nothing but your three countries plus the European Union, which is the EEA countries are Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein, right? Now there is the last segment called EFTA, European Free Trade. What does A stand for? Association, right? So your EEA countries, which is Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein, plus Switzerland is called as EFTA. Is it like super confusing? Yes, no?
No, Sukrit.
You can be a bit vocal, please.
No, it's understandable.
Right.
So this is 27 plus 3 plus 1 is what you're saying, correct?
Yeah, 27 plus 3 plus 1. That's the proportion that you have to remember in mind. 27 is your EU countries. 27 plus 3, which is Norway, Liechtenstein, and Iceland, is EEA, European Economic Area. And then this 3 plus 1 separately is called as the EFTA, European Free Trade Association, right? So this is how the entire Europe is structured from, because of various treaties and other stuff they've got for themselves. And the economy of Europe in itself acts for outsiders like us, it's a little weird for us to understand how does trade happens within the continent, and how does data, which is an enabler of trade today, also falls, traverse through the borders, and how is it protected, right? So this is basically a very important understanding that we should have. GDPR applies to EEA countries. That means the 27 plus 3 countries. For Switzerland, which is like outside of this EEA, GDPR does not apply. Switzerland has got its own version of the law, which is very much resembling GDPR, but it's not like GDPR. So GDPR cannot be tested and tried in the courts of Switzerland, but it's because it's not subjected to GDPR, like GDPR as such. But they have their own data protection regulation that is governing Swiss data subjects. Very similar to Switzerland is what the case of UK today is, but though they are not part of the EFTA and other stuff, UK is siloed out, and UK does have its own data protection regulation, which is, UK anyway was part of European Union earlier, so they had the GDPR applicable to them in the past, but with their divorce with the EU mainland, they've got their own version of GDPR, which is started to be called as UK GDPR, that's applicable to UK data subjects, right? So this is a very basic understanding that we all have to keep in mind throughout the course. And please don't get confused if somebody says EEA, EFTA, EU, and all that stuff, right? So the scope of GDPR is EU plus those 3 countries. Keep it simple, right? Okay, let's break. Let's do an ice break quickly, right? So much about European Union in its structure and other stuff that we learned. Now let me ask you. It's not related to our subject, but just to break ice here. When we refer to, the place where London is, we use various terminologies, right? Sometimes we say England. Sometimes we say the UK, the United Kingdom. And sometimes we also say the Great Britain. Are they all same, or is there any difference? Since we've understood Europe in a far better way now, let's break ice with the neighbors of Europe now.
There is a difference, I guess.
Yeah, there is.
Anybody want to give a try? What's the difference? What's the difference between England, Great Britain, and the United Kingdom?
UK is the entire country. England.
UK is an entire country. Okay.
Britain is a place in UK. Capital.
No, London is the capital, right?
London is
Somebody else? Any other person want to give a try?
Yeah, Ireland and I think Northern Ireland don't form part of England. They form part of the larger one. So
I think Scotland as well. Ireland, Scotland.
Okay.
Those countries within the not it is a larger country, I would say. United Kingdom.
Okay, I'll give you clues, right? United Kingdom is not a country.
United Kingdom is a continent. England is a country of United Kingdom. Plus,
United Kingdom is not a continent as well. United Kingdom is not a continent. It's not a country.
It's a group of countries. United Kingdom. England is the country.
Yeah, London is capital of England.
I think Britain is England, Scotland, and Wales.
Or they make up Great Britain.
All right. Okay. All right. Then what about the other neighbor nearby, Northern Ireland?
Great.
All right. So I'll know the answer, right? So, let me quickly show you an image of England or United Kingdom. Yeah. Is my screen reflecting there?
Yes.
What do you see on
Yes,
my
it-
screen?
Yes, okay.
UK consists of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and England.
Right. So Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, all four of them are independent countries, right? But all of them come directly under the control of the throne, right? And that's all four countries put together is called as the United Kingdom, right? So England is a different country, separate country in itself. Wales is a separate country, Scotland is a separate country, and Northern Ireland is a separate country. And that's why you get to see in cricket matches, England plays as England, but not as Great Britain or the United Kingdom. And you have a different team for England and a different team for Scotland, different team for Wales, and different team for Northern Ireland. Simple. Now, what does this word Great Britain means is Great Britain is nothing but the name of the island where England, Wales, and Scotland are located together. So this island that you see here, there are two islands here, right? One is the Irish island, the other one is the one that you see here, right? So this island, the main island where three countries are located, that is called, the island's name is called Britain. But this three countries plus Northern Ireland put together is called as the United Kingdom. And England, as such, it's a separate country in itself. Right, so that's about the United Kingdom and a little bit of a knowledge and icebreaker for you guys. All right, okay, let's go back to our content. All right, I hope you guys are able to see my slides again. Right, so, okay, so as I said, the content of the examination is split into three sections. The first section is the most boring session, I would say, probably the first 1 week or 1.5 weeks where we will discuss the first section. You may feel like, why am I here? It doesn't make any sense. It's so complicated and all that. But unfortunately for exam takers, it's also important to clear this section because of the sectional cutoff they have in the exam. We will try to make it as interesting as possible, but privacy itself is a very, very dry subject. So if you get bored at some point in time, not able to follow, just let me know. I'll try to change the course of my delivery so that you will find some solace in the way that the session is being delivered. But that's a cautious statement that I'm making. But it's going to be a very boring section 1, right? But once section 1 is over, where we will spend some good amount of time. In fact, the largest portion that we will be spending is on section 2, which is going to be like, all the 99 different articles of GDPR is what you will read in section 2, right? And that's going to be super exciting because we will have a lot of interactive sessions, practical things being discussed, and our experiences come to our sharing our experiences and other stuff will happen, which everybody will enjoy, not just the exam takers. Anybody who wants to implement GDPR in their organization or try to comply with GDPR in one way or the other, you will all enjoy. The third section is again a very, very good section, an enjoyable section where we will look into the practical implications of implementing GDPR in real life scenarios, real organizational scenarios like employee management or employee surveillance activity that we do. The advent of technology in today's world. How does technology versus law? Is it the law acting as a showstopper for technology, or how does it impact it? What recommendations that law kinds of provides to technology guys today is all we will discuss that in the section 3, right? So that's how the sections are. Now, in the first 1.5 weeks, unfortunately, we got to start with a boring session, which is Introduction to European Data Protection. Again, it has got 3 chapters within it. I'm going to only touch chapter 1 and chapter 2 for the time being. Chapter 3 is something that we will reserve towards the end of our sessions. After section 3 is complete, we will revisit chapter 3 because chapter 3 is like summarizing everything that we learned is what chapter 3 is, right? So that's the reason if you look at the body of knowledge. Now, again, as I said, today's session is going to be very interactive for us. Like, before we get into the boring slides and other stuff, let's understand from all of us here, right? So we have about, what, 29 people here as a group, excluding me, 28 people out there. Now, if I have to just ask, what is privacy? I would love to hear the response from all of you guys in your own definitions, in your own words, if you can define privacy for me.
Use of my data without my consent.
Use of your data? Sorry, can you repeat the statement you made?
Okay. Usage of a data subject data without their consent, like how like privacy is okay. Maybe I might giving a complicated answer. What I'm trying to tell is like privacy is about information which is something related to something which is personal to me, and it has to be used with my consent. It cannot be used without my consent. So privacy deals about mostly about
Great.
how you're keeping my information personal.
Very good. Okay, fine. So I have a request. I mean, it's just voluntary again, right? So whenever you unmute yourself and speak for the very first time, if you can introduce yourself to the rest of the crowd, we may know a name and associate you to something, and it kind of helps people to be a bit more friendly towards sharing information and other. We as a group, we want to achieve this, right? So would you mind if I ask you to introduce in a 1-2 line for all of us, please?
Sure. This is Santosh. Santosh will raise this question.
Thank you, Santosh. Thank you very much. Okay, so let me rephrase this question that I asked. So Santosh, what you defined for me, or what you tried to define for me, is actually the next question that I had, right? So I asked, what is privacy? I did not ask, what is data privacy? So data privacy and privacy are, kind of, data privacy is a subset of privacy as such, right? But let's explore what's privacy as a whole set before coming into the data privacy part of it. What is privacy? Try to explain me that.
Hi, Suki. This is
hi.
Rashi this side, and I'm from I'm a security consultant and a very beginner for data privacy and protection background. And for me, what privacy is like, it's like my personal data that I don't want to share, that I don't want to give it to somebody who is not having any concerns regarding that. For example, I don't want to share my Aadhaar card number, and I don't want to share my phone number, and those all things may concerns to my privacy. And if I don't want to share anything related to my life, that is also comes under privacy for me as a person.
All right, very good. Okay, fine. Thank you, Rajeshi. Thank you.
Hi, Suki. This is Asta. I am a lawyer by background, and I'm a data privacy professional. So to me, privacy is like not going into the legal aspects of it, but privacy generally it's derived from the word private, right? So something which I should have a complete autonomy over, and something which I should have a right over. Let it be data, or let it be my life, or it can be anything. Something I should have the right over that. It should be my private, like as the name says, it should be kept private to me.
Thank you, Asta. That's very, very, very good. Thank you. And I'm sure you're going to add a lot of legal flavor to all this discussion that we're going to have in the future as well. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Hi, this is Raghavan. So for me, that privacy means any confidential information that you do not want to share with anyone. That's what I feel.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Raghavan.
Suki, Biswa, yeah?
Yes, please, Biswa.
Yeah, so privacy for me is about giving a right to the data subject to have a control over the data, what is being processed, his data being processed. When I say process, is again collections, all those retentions. So it's a kind of a right what we're giving to the data subject.
All right, very good. Okay.
Suki, this is Gerald. Satya here. Suki, privacy in general would mean right to remain private.
Right to remain private. Very good. Okay, Satya. Would you mind explaining what is your interpretation of right to remain private?
It's someone's, someone wants to keep discreet about their personal information or, their entire life which surrounds them. So whatever might be the information, they want to remain secluded, it's their right. Is a private information.
Okay.
Suki, this
Great.
is Gerald
Okay, thank
here.
you, Satya. Yeah, hi, Gerald.
Someone mentioned that private data is whatever information which I think it is confidential and I don't want to share with other people. I would also want to slightly deviate from there and say whatever, if not need not even be confidential, but if I choose that is some information of me, I do not like sharing. I'm a private person. I'm a person who does not like anyone even knowing. Like could be things like common things which other people feel like these are things that I can share. But if I choose not to share with anyone, I can still remain a private person and say this is confidential information to me, private data.
Very good. Okay. Very valid points, Gerald. Thank you very much. Anybody else who want to go?
Hi, Suki. This is Sukanya here. For me,
Hey,
data
Sukanya.
privacy, yeah. For me, data privacy would mean that the ability or what do I say, like any data which I feel is sensitive or confidential or very private to me, which I would want to protect it, or the ability to completely keep it confidential to myself, or the right, like how people mention, would be the concept of privacy for me.
Okay. Thank you,
Suki,
Sukanya. Very good. Okay.
Suki Astha here again. I would like to add to what Chirag said, that something what might be confidential to me might not be confidential to you or someone else. So
Absolutely.
like, at some prospect, from some points it is subjective as well, but it is like not every time it is subjective. Like if we go from a legal point of view, we have a defined rights under Article 21 of Constitution, that these are the rights to privacy in this Article 19 and 21 we have. But at the other time it can be subjective as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a combination of both subjective as well as objective.
Absolutely. I mean, it is more, instead of saying it is subjective or objective, I would say it is contextual in nature.
Right.
Right. Yeah. You got to really test privacy in many contexts and understand whether something really is private in certain contexts versus not. Yeah. Very valid point. Great.
Right.
Okay. So anybody else? Final. I mean, I've got two more opportunities maybe.
Yeah. Hi, Suki. Niranjan here.
Yeah.
So for me, privacy is like your own space. In general, we tell I need privacy means nobody should interfere, or I don't want any other external third person's presence there. So that is privacy. That is your own space for yourself or something like that.
Super, Niranjan. Super. Very good. Spot on. Right. Super. Yeah.
Thank you.
Last one chance. Anybody want to go?
Yeah, hi, this is Vani.
Hi, can you repeat your name, please?
This is Vani Palla.
Vani. Yeah. Hi, Vani.
Hi. So, privacy in general is, keeping things to myself. Like anything related to me, I would want to keep it to myself, and I should have the control on, what I share, what I don't share.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, so you kind of resonate with what the previous person spoke, right? Yeah. Very good. Okay.
Suki, one more chance. I'll take one more dig.
Please, yeah, go on.
See, even in this this training session, if you go through the profile, some people have just chosen to write, like in my case, I've just displayed my name as GV without giving out my name, but only then I'm speaking, I'm actually telling and disclosing my name.
Yeah.
So, to me, maybe even that kind of an information, I think it's very private, or I'm not willing to share with others. So it could be even categorized as something which is, to me, it is private, and I would like to remain the same.
Right. Very good, Gerald. Yeah, I mean, you're right? Because one of the reasons why I chose Jitsi as a platform is about the anonymity that Jitsi provides. Now, you may see that a lot of our colleagues or friends here have joined using the name Fellow Jitser. That means they're not willing to disclose your name to the larger group, and they are completely anonymous, right? So we don't even know what their names are, and there's no profile pictures, nothing. So yeah, you're right to you have a right to remain anonymous as well, correct? Okay, fine, great. So what I really liked about is the diversity in the opinions that we had as a group. I mean, it's a very small group, about 25 to 30 people, but look at the diversity that we bring onto the table here. Now, for me, that is the most interesting aspect of privacy, because there is no single definition of privacy that anybody can give. For me, as Asta and GV also said, it depends on a person. So what you deem as something really personal to you, I may not deem the same thing as a really, really personal issue for me. And sometime I'm okay to give some of my information away and just keep other things very intimate to myself, right? For example, between a common man and a celebrity, you will find a very, very open difference in the thought process of what we call as privacy for ourselves and what they call as privacy for themselves, right? Because most of their information, most of the details about them are already out in the media. So how do you remain private if you are a celebrity is a very interesting question, and you got to understand them, what privacy means. And for me, most of us related to data privacy when I asked about privacy, but privacy is beyond data as well, right? So I have a bodily privacy. I don't want somebody to cause and harm to me, to my body. Or I have a mental privacy. I don't want anybody to brainwash me. That's again a privacy. If you want to ask my opinion of how do I define privacy, the right not to be disturbed, unless otherwise I allow somebody to disturb me, is what I call as privacy for me, right? And somebody else said that, I think Sukanya said, right? So to have their own space, that's absolutely what privacy is all about. You have your own space where you can live your own life without the intervention of anybody, be it from a data perspective, be it from a physical perspective or anything. That's what generally privacy is, right? We will see more about privacy, personal data as and when we get onto section 2, but I want to keep it very, very short here today. Now we all discuss what privacy is. It's best defined by individuals. That's what we agreed here, right? Now the next question is, can you give me examples? I mean, privacy is, as somebody Asta said, privacy is all about private things. Now, many of us said, or when you're defining privacy, you guys use the word confidential, right? Now, confidentiality, is that privacy or is that security? Let's get into that space now.
It's a security.
What's confidentiality? Is it security or privacy?
Yeah, it's a security.
Any other opinion, anyone?
I would feel it's both, Santosh here.
Yeah,
okay. Any reason why do you say it's both?
So my personal information, it has to be protected. That's where security will come into picture. My personal information should be private to me. See, the basic difference between security and privacy is security is unauthorized use and privacy is authorized but without consent for additional purpose. Like if I have given something for one particular purpose, it has to be used for that. And unfortunately in India, it's been used for multiple other reasons. So I feel confidentiality is very closely linked to both security and privacy.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Very, very fair take, Santosh. Yeah, please. Somebody else was about to speak something.
Hi, creation. The classification.
You got to speak up a little louder. I can't hear you. I mean, your voice is very feeble. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Can you hear me now?
It's better. Yeah.
All right. It's all about the classification, confidentiality. How do you restrict or whatever the classification you give your data or whatever, you, as you said, remain private. So based on your classification, you define whether it's confidential or private or personal or restricted.
All
Is
right.
that
Okay. So you relate this to
creative?
data classification within an organization.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, great. Thank you. Right. So I think Santosh got the answer to a very close extent, right? So the things that I wanted to break is privacy versus security, right? Now, both of them, if you're considering privacy and security as Venn diagrams, I'm sure people are aware about Venn diagrams that we studied in class 2, class 3 in mathematics, right? So both of them can exist as its own circles without any kind of intervention, because the subject that privacy covers, the subject that security covers, both of them are not related, because when you speak of privacy, you are talking about traceability, unlinkability of data. When you speak of data privacy specifically, right, of data to individuals, that's what privacy is going to be dealing with. Can I trace a person with the data that I have? Can I link a person to the data that I have? That's what privacy is going to be worried about. And security is going to be worried about the CIA triads: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? But can privacy exist without security? Definitely not. So if you're talking privacy as a whole set, that entire circle of security will go inside privacy's circle. Privacy cannot be achieved without security, right? Unless otherwise somebody protects your data from a wrongdoer, the wrongdoer will cause harm to you using your private data. We all get pissed off when you're in between a meeting and suddenly a credit card call comes to you. It's a result somebody either wantedly or unwantedly leaked that information into a wrongdoer's hand, and that credit card call is actually causing harm to your privacy. You are getting disturbed not during not during a right time, right? So that's how both of them are interrelated. But can I put privacy as a subset of security, or can the privacy circle go inside and reside within the security circle? May not be, right? So security in itself is a whole topic which not only encompasses private data but also business data and other types of data as well. So yeah, the takeaway for us is simple. Privacy cannot live without security, but security just in itself is not privacy, right? So there is few elements of top-up that you need to do, which is like traceability and linkability and shareability and other stuff, right? So that's what the differences are going to be. Now, the next thing that as a precursor to the course that we want to know is,
Suki, I have a doubt here.
Sorry, please ask a question. Is there a question?
Yeah. Yes, Suki. So what the doubt I have is, don't you think that privacy and security should not be a subset of either one of them? Like it should be different. What I think is security is more towards the technical measures and privacy is more towards the legal measures. And both of them together need to be implemented to make any data secured or compliant.
Absolutely. That's my take as well, Asha. Did you understand me differently?
No, because I understood something like some privacy is a subset of security.
No. I did not say that. I said privacy can never be a subset of security, because the scope of security, of course, private data can be scope of security, but then security is altogether a different space. But I was only talking privacy as a circle definitely needs to have the smaller circle of security within it so that privacy can be achieved.
Okay, my bad then. Okay, sorry.
Maybe we can say that privacy cannot fulfill its objectives without security, whereas security can fulfill its objectives without privacy.
I don't really agree to that.
I would have my reservations on the later part of the statement that you made, Santosh. But yes, the first part where you said privacy cannot be achieved without security, I kind of concur to that. But the later part is a different question altogether, right? So you cannot speak privacy from a security angle. Or sorry, you cannot speak security from a privacy angle.
Okay. No, what I'm
right?
to say,
But you cannot speak privacy without security. That's also a fact.
yes, this I do agree, but see, privacy is picking up now, like 10-15 years back, like now before GDPR. Like we never spoke about privacy. Yes, it do exist. Even in IT Act, it clearly calls out about privacy. But the emphasis on privacy just came up only after GDPR coming into picture. But my point is, like, security did exist, and we used to protect all of the information as a generic one. It might be a PII data, it might be a transaction data. We used to protect the same way how it used to be. That's all. So that's where I was coming from. Like, security did not consider privacy as the whole entity to fulfill its objectives. It might just consider as a critical data and just goes ahead and protects it.
Now that's a very valid statement or an argument that you're bringing onto the table, Santosh. But how would you ensure that security is always a risk-based approach, right?
Correct.
Right. Now, without considering the kind of risk that exists on a data set, how would you implement security controls? You cannot make that statement, or I am at least avert to making the statement that security can exist even without privacy, right? Because the fact is, if it's a personal data, my level of security controls is dependent on the data set. At the end of the day, I have different layers of security, right from data security to network security to application security to infra security and all that. This is all various layers that is surrounding my data. So the data in question, the interest of security is data, not on my assets or not on my devices and perimeters, right? So how will you appropriately implement security controls is totally driven by the data that is in question. So if it's personal data, the level of security, as somebody else was explaining, they equated this to the classification methodology, right?
Yes.
So let's say if I classify all my personal data as a confidential data within my organization, the level of security control that applies on that confidential data is going to be very, very different from the level of security that I will apply on the public data.
Correct.
Right. So that's why I'm about to make that statement that privacy is, your security is, privacy is not going to drive your security.
Okay. No, see, I do acknowledge the point saying that the information asset classification, like we call it as an information asset or an information, is directly proportional to the business value. Business value is nothing but the information's criticality and sensitivity. Basis on criticality and sensitivity is what you provide protection controls for it. I agree with that. Okay. So if I take a PII, personally identifiable information, it's both critical and sensitive. So I would put the protection controls. If it is a cardholder data information, I would put the protection controls the same way. But why is that more emphasis on PII when there are a lot of other data as well, which is more critical and sensitive, going with the same asset classification and going with the same concept of providing security protection? I treat PII data as any other data.
Right.
So I treat PII data as any other critical and sensitive data. Like I have cardholder data information, I have financial information. I would treat PII data also the same thing. But why so much of emphasis on privacy within security is my argument. Maybe I can take it offline also.
Because the answer is straight away available, right? So for example, if you take off business sensitive information today, it is your controls that you're putting is primarily based on industry standards and best practices, right? Correct?
Yes.
But if you're dealing with private information, the kind of controls is not only industry standards and best practices, as Asta said, a legal element is also coming inside there.
Correct.
Get what I'm
Correct.
saying?
Yes.
Okay, I can
Right?
explain why the legal element is required and why just not security would be perfect solution.
Correct. So that's why I'm aware to the statement that you made earlier, right? So this later part of the statement.
And also
So there
you
is a
said that
dependency there as well. It's not like completely independent when it comes from a point of view, from a security angle. You can't just divorce privacy and then say without even privacy I can live, right? So that statement I wouldn't make, because there is it's like you can't really solve this problem without taking into consideration the data and its implications.
No,
the security
see,
problem is always for the data.
My point was, as a security consultant, okay, let's assume that I'm not a privacy consultant, I'm a security consultant. For me, any data which is critical and sensitive, according to that, I would classify and put the protection controls. That's it. Like, I'm not going to give more emphasis on privacy or any other aspects. I just go
Right.
with the
Okay.
same
Let
concept.
me give you a practical example. Santosh. Now, let's say you want to implement security controls. Fine. I'm going with a very vanilla version here, right? For argument's sake. ISMS ISO 27001 is a good standard to implement.
Yes.
Okay. What does A18 of ISMS says? Or whatever, even during the first initial scoping of ISMS, what do you consider?
The requirements
The regulatory obligations on the organization.
Yeah. Legal and regulatory requirements from the interested parties and
Precisely there. There is the answer, right? So you, without considering the legal and regulatory requirements, which many times is coming associated with privacy, you can't really define a security system in place.
Okay, maybe
Right,
when you
so that's
touch base, when you touch base legal and regulatory requirements, yes, one of the primary thing which comes up is your privacy acts also, which will come into picture. Correct.
Correct. Yeah, which is not the case for business information always. Correct.
Maybe or may not be. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's not
I
that
mean,
privacy
or
has
not always. That's what I meant.
and it's not that privacy has come into picture only after GDPR. We used to
Right.
collect directives also.
No, I did tell that it was
as
there.
we speak, guys, I think we are spending too much time on this. Let's move on. But just for an information,
yes.
If you look at today, the government has already started to work on non-personal data governance framework. Right, so that's also getting a little bit of a regulatory angle today. It's Justice Sri Krishna committee made this PDPB and other stuff. Then we heard from the Joint Parliamentary Committee that they are considering also non-personal data. How do we govern that? All of that, right? So all data is getting regulated in some way. So yes, we will have a lot of things happening in the near future on this space, right? Okay, fine. So this is the entanglement between privacy and security. It's very complex. So for us, we will keep the point of view from a privacy angle. Privacy cannot exist without security. That's the point that we want to make. If you want to keep certain data private and protect it properly, you cannot achieve that without security controls in place. For a layman, the difference between privacy and security is this, right? Having a door locked is security, but having a curtain on the window is privacy. That's the easiest layman example that somebody can give. You can relate it at your own times, right? That's the relationship. Now, also, let's move on to the next topic as a precursor. Without looking into the slides again, I'm cautious of time. Oh, we're already on top of time. Okay, so let's park this for tomorrow's session. I'm going to ask you, maybe you can come prepared with your responses for this question that we will brainstorm. What, according to you, is personal data? That's the next question that we will start talking about. And with that covered, I think we will get onto the slides and start to discuss the introduction to European data protection. But yeah, I mean, we had a very fruitful discussion on multiple topics today. I hope you guys have some takeaway to take it from today's session. If there are any specific comments, please let me know. If you want me to change the course of delivery, I would be more than happy if you have any pointed feedback towards me. But I really enjoyed all the conversations that we had today as a group. And come prepared tomorrow, same time. The YouTube link will differ. I'll send the new YouTube link, but Jitsi will remain the same. Come prepared with your version of what is personal data. With that, we will stop today and talk again tomorrow. I'll wait on the call until everybody else has drop off. If there is any question that you want to ask me, please stay back and ask those questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, Suki. It was a good session.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. I think there are no questions for me. Are there anybody waiting to ask me any questions?
No question, Suki. Suki, the point, this is Santosh. The point I was trying to tell is, I'll quickly close it. I will not take your time. So what I was trying to tell is, privacy was there, in fact, from IT Act also. I'm not denying that. But the common mindset of the people was not that somewhere they were focused on the PII till the GDPR picked up and it got emphasized. So that's where I was coming up, we were able to run the security show without even emphasize on privacy. And that's where my background of telling that, so probably security can exist. Now without security, privacy cannot exist, because if the data subject data is being misused or given to unauthorized access, then both privacy and security gets compromised. So that's where I was coming up from. That's all, nothing else. But honestly,
no, I understand. I understand your point of view, Santosh. I'm sorry if you've gone in the spirit, cross the line in terms of defending myself, but the intention. Sorry, but the intention was to kind of clarify the environment is changing drastically, right? So it's not any further that security can exist even without, because security is also, when privacy is getting regulated, in a way or the other, security is also getting regulated today.
Correct.
Right? So that's why we say that, we can't really divorce these two guys from each other. So it always will have some association between these two guys together, is what I'm trying to make. I mean, things have been in the past very different, but with a lot of emphasis on privacy, as you rightly said, in the last 10 years, I think it's time for us to acknowledge the fact that both of them cannot exist without each other and then move forward.
Correct. No, I agree with you. So that's what my discussion was. But honestly, I really enjoyed the argument, and it was really good. It's an eye opener for new first. So it's good. At least one or the way, both of us are learning. That's good.
Correct. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. I enjoyed it as well, Santosh.
Hi, I have a question for both of you. After hearing this argument, I got this doubt. See, for example, if my privacy is breached, it means that definitely the security is breached. But is it the same if security is breached but privacy is still intact? Does it make sense?
No, ask the question again, Niranjan.
Okay. For example, if my privacy of the data is breached, it means that the security is obviously breached. But if my security is breached, does it mean that the privacy of my data is still intact?
No, Niranjan. Sorry. So
there is a possibility, right?
There is a possibility, but
you answer first. You answer first, Santosh.
I'm sorry, Suki.
You answer first. I'll answer later.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So Niranjan, so if it is used by the authorized person and if he misuses it, so if I give you a personal information of mine with my consent to you, and if you misuse it rather than using it for the legal lawful processing purpose, then still my privacy is breached, but not the security. I did give you with my consent and you did not unauthorizedly access my data, but you got the data, whatever you required for, but you did not use it just for the same purpose and you have misused it. So the privacy is breached with keeping security still intact.
Okay. Okay, fine. So let me, you answered the first part of the question, Niranjan, right? So, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay, fine. So, Niranjan, I would suggest, it's a very great question. First of all, I have to acknowledge this first question that's top notch in the session, right? So thank you for that. Would you mind if we discuss this in detail tomorrow?
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Santosh.
Actually, when you both were discussing your views on privacy,
So
and
you were asking me, is there a possibility that one gets breached but the other is not?
yes,
In both the point of views.
yes, and also
Alright.
I asked like, yeah, basically that's what I was trying to ask.
Fine. Okay, we will discuss this in detail tomorrow. Very good question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. All right. Others, any questions? Are you guys waiting for?
I do have a question, but yeah, we can I'll ask it tomorrow maybe.
No, give me a precursor to this H. I would like to.
Okay.
I would like to come prepared with an answer, possibly.
Okay, so my question is, it kind of, because of a lot of organizations, they kind of leak our data in some or the other way. So all of our data is somewhere in the net. So what kind of privacy are we talking about in the future? Like past, some of our data is leaked. So will it be affecting the future? So like how will we maybe like protecting the privacy in the future then?
All right. Okay. So it's like, why do I care when somebody is already having access to my information? That's the question.
Not like that. But I mean, like, what are we gonna protect in the future? That's my question. So, like, the past privacy is breached. Something is gonna affect in the future as well. So, what are we targeting in the future to protect the privacy in the future? I'm asking.
All right, fine. Yeah, we'll discuss this. I think Asta will be able to give us a great clarity on this from a legal angle to this conversation. So,
Sure.
yeah, we'll discuss this question. Great.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Are you guys waiting to ask any questions? All right. If not, thank you very much. You guys have a good night. I know it's late already in India, so we'll speak again tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.